All right, so this is part 2 of scheduling our parent-teacher conferences. This assumes that you've already created the Google form and sent that out to parents, and you've waited a few days, and now your parents have all scheduled the appointments and the times, and so now you're ready to actually put those into Google Calendar. So that's what I'll show you now. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go over to Google Calendar, and if you've got a bunch of things cluttering up your calendar, like all of your Google Classroom assignments and things, go ahead and uncheck those boxes, and that'll clean things up a bit. Next thing you want to do is, instead of the month view, it's much better to use the day view for something like this, because you're going to be putting a lot of appointments, but all in the same day, which is November 12th in this case. So it's best to just use the day, and so you can focus in on just that day and the times. All right, so now we have our date. Oh, I have the incorrect date though, so please make sure that you have November 12th. There we are. So I'm on Thursday, November 12th, and then you're going to use your personal calendar for this one, I think is best. And then you're simply going to take your appointment, your first appointment, and let's say that first one is at 12 o'clock. Right? So I'm going to go and click just near 12 o'clock, and you'll see Google will guess what time I wanted. In this case, it guessed correctly. Just keep an eye on that, though, because it will not always guess correctly. But nevertheless, I don't want to use this small screen here. I want to click more options, so I have the full array of options for scheduling this. All right, and the first thing I'm going to do is add a title. I'll jump back to the cheat sheet. I actually have a sample title here, so I'm just going to pull that, and I'll use that for my title. And I use this title because it's descriptive. First thing is it says it's a virtual PT conference. So for the parent, when they get this invitation, they'll actually know what this is. Or if you think PT is too vague, then just put parent-teacher conference. But make it clear, whatever you choose, so that the parent actually opens that email when they receive it and knows that they need to attend that meeting. All right, and then the second part is for you, the teacher, so that you know which student's parent you're going to be meeting with. So this title has two purposes. This part here for the parent to know what it is, and this part here so you know exactly which student you're meeting with at that time. So that's what I recommend. All right, next thing is we're going to add a time. So adding a time. Now in this case, Google correctly guessed that we wanted to start this conference at 12, but notice that it's also going to give you an hour, which you definitely do not want. So make sure that you adjust those times. So here Google is giving me 15-minute increments, but let's say I only wanted 10-minute increments. Then you can just click on the time and manually enter the start or the end time that you want, right? Make sure you don't cross your AMs and PMs as well. Be careful with those. Right, so now I've got 12 to 12:10. And if you want to be very, meticulous about this, maybe you know that you're going to have to bounce out of that meeting at 12:09 in order to jump into the next one by 12:10 if you've got them one after the next. So that's up to you, but you are able to manually adjust those times to exactly as you need. So double check those and be careful with your AMs and PMs. And that's it for timing. All right, next step, step 8 here says find the box that says add description and add a description of the event. That's totally optional. It's just here if you want to add a description of what this conference is going to be about or the names of the teachers that will be present, go right ahead and do that there. But again, that's optional. All right, jump down to the next step. This is important, add guests. So this is where you need the parent's email. Without this step, then the parent is never going to receive this invitation. They're not going to have the Meet link to join you in this conference. So step 9, super important. You need to add your guests. So that's the spot right here where it says add guests is where you're going to type in the I'm just going to use sample account. So as student is sample student. Right. Notice that when I did it, though, notice how it pops up here because this is somebody in our domain. It's looking for emails in our domain that start with SST, and here are a few examples. But you're using the parent's personal email addresses, so that's not going to happen, right? So you need to be very careful that you're entering in those email addresses exactly as they provided them to you. So let's say S parent for sample parent, right? Nothing comes up. And then keep in mind that the end is not going to be at harvey152.org. It's going to be at whatever that parent's email domain is. So that might be at gmail.com. That might be at hotmail.com. That might be at yahoo.com. We don't know, whatever they use. So just be careful that you enter in the exact address of the parent that they've provided to you in the Google form. All right. Additionally, if you have any other teachers that are going to need to join you, right, or maybe a translator, or maybe you have a student teacher or a paraprofessional who you want, anybody that you are going to want in this meeting with you, right, especially at Brooks, you'll want, if you're doing this as teams, then you want to invite all the other teachers in your team to this appointment as well. So you would add in whatever other teacher, let's say D teacher for demo teacher, right? You can add as many of these as you need to, as many teachers as you need to be in that particular meeting. So anybody that needs to be in this particular conference, make sure you add them as a guest here. And if somebody later needs to join after you've already created this appointment, you can always go back into the appointment and add them later on. But best to just try to knock it all out as you're creating the appointments. Add anybody to it by adding guests. Okay? Moving on to step 10, click the blue save button at the top of the page, and then I'm going to read the next couple of steps because they're kind of all together. As soon as you hit that save button, you're going to be asked, do you want to send invitation emails to your guests? That means, do you want to email the people that you've invited, like the parents? And the answer is absolutely yes. So make sure that you click send when it asks you that, because you definitely need to send the parents the invite. Otherwise, they don't receive that that invitation to their email. So definitely make sure that you click send. I'll quickly show you that. So I click the blue save button here at the top. And then I get this question, would you like to send invitations? Absolutely yes. Make sure you click send so that the parent and the other teachers on the team get that email invitation. And then when it's time for that appointment, you just click on the appointment there and join with Google Meet, right? And you'll see all the guests that are invited to that particular meeting. And we're just going to continue on down the line. So let's say that, your next meeting is at 12:20. Then I'm going to click somewhere around 12:20 on my calendar there. Notice it didn't guess correctly this time, so you got to watch that. I'm going to click more options and go through the exact same steps. Give it a clear title. Make sure I have the exact start time and the exact end time. Make sure I add my guests. Click save, and then make sure that you send that invitation to all of your guests for that. All right, and last thing I'll mention is step 12 there. If you do need a translator for a conference, let your building admin know so that they can schedule somebody to be available so you can invite them to those appointments as well. That's it for scheduling appointments using Google Calendar. If you have any questions, just let me know.